Hi, thank you so much for tuning in to Gamers at the End of the World. I'm Tye Justice.
And I'm JCPR.
And today we're going to talk about news in gaming. First thing is Netflix plans to ramp up its investment in gaming. The investments are still small, but co-CEO Gregory Peters wants to ramp up that in the coming quarters. He promises that they will continue to license games and begin to develop their own very soon. Now, I wanted to talk about that because I wanted your opinions on corporations buying up smaller companies, mergers, things like that, and things like Netflix taking over games in the gaming industry. And what do you think about like their history with that in the past? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think this is a good or bad thing?
Well, here's the thing. I feel like with Netflix acquiring, they're investing more into that whole gaming sphere. I feel like they're going to be quite limited because the only ones they've really done is the choose your own adventure type storytelling.
Right.
Which can work, but if that's all you got, then it's kind of like, what else can you offer?
Right.
Because people want more out of their games.
Maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe they'll come out of left field and put out some good content.
I would hope.
Because they license games right now to put out. And now I'm not really familiar with how they do that.
Right.
So, but how do they do that? Do you know?
Honestly, I'm not 100%. So this is more so just an idea, like speculation, rather than saying what's what.
Right.
I'm assuming they just inquire, like the rights for that game with the studio.
Right.
And they just go on from there.
So what do you think about like game companies like merging Activision Blizzard and, the gaming industry becoming smaller and smaller with bigger conglomerates? It's like Walmart coming into town and, destroying the mom and pops, I think. That's just kind of my, very much an anarchist in a lot of the way I think, or more, I should say an iconoclast. But, what do you think that does when it comes to gaming innovation?
I think it definitely hinders creativity and ideas. Because in the end, if it's all just coming from one studio, immediately they're going to be like, okay, what do we have?
Right.
They're just going to revisit like older properties,
franchises,
franchises, ideas, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It leaves out that sort of space that I see a lot of indie developers kind of fill in, where it's like, oh, I have this idea. Let me put my work into it. Let me get funding for it. Let me have some people help me out, stuff like that. They put it out and people enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And the interesting thing is it creates, in my opinion, a much wider chasm where you have like big companies and then indie developers. And for the indie developers, though, I wonder if that's going to create a space where they get to be more creative to compete with the bigger guys and, to kind of like have their own ideas out there, like the crazier, wackier ideas that are just kind of more innovative because they're having to compete with these monolith conglomerates, but I don't know. I mean, trust busting really needs to be a thing. And I've said this for a long time. Antitrust laws really need to be put into place, but that doesn't always happen. And you have big companies like Disney trying to buy everything, and Nintendo, and that sort of more than just in spirit violate these antitrust laws. But of course, they pay lobbyists and things like that, so they get away with a lot of it. But in terms of the creativity of it and being able to put out good content, my fear is that everybody's going to get a bunch of franchise-itis, just like in film, like Paramount, does. It only seems like, and no offense to the fans, they only do Transformers films and Mission Impossible films and stuff like that.
How dare you?
The nerd rage.
Yeah, the nerd rage is coming up. Age.
But, which there's nothing wrong with them as long as they're quality films. And we've seen certain franchises kind of stumble and fall a little bit. Mission Impossible has been pretty straight, but I think a lot of that has to do with quality control by Tom Cruise. But who do we have in gaming that's going to be able to step up like the stars of a game and be like, no, we can't. This is garbage. We need better storylines and all that.
It's funny you bring that up because I feel like in general it's more difficult to kind of pinpoint that that one person you can look at to kind of save it or give it a face, because the gaming sphere is very subjective, very like opinionated.
And you don't have like standouts or stalwarts. People don't remember developers' names like they do stars.
Unless it's like older dudes, like the ones that worked for like Microsoft, Xbox, but they remember because they ruined everything in a sense, right?
It's right. Yep. That's true. And, that's the fear, though, is that they're only going to go for more modern warfare games constantly. And there's nothing wrong with that, consistent games of established franchises. But when that's all you're getting, you get tired of it. It's like, I remember
Really
one time
tired.
I was going through like a lot of Michael Crichton books, and he's terrific. But his technobabble and, his storylines, though unique and really fun and ingenious. After a while, it all started to bleed together, and after 12 books, I'm like, I think I need to take a break from Crichton and do something else. You get tired of the same language, and I think with a lot of developers, they all have a similar language. And without giving the indie developers or people with unique ideas a chance, or ideas in general a chance that are a little wacky, that may not work, may work. I mean, look at Cuphead, games like that. Like indie.
That very rubber hose sort of look and
Right.
feel, but it's still a 2D platformer shooter. It's like a Mega Man in a sense,
Yeah,
Like
in a
it's
way.
a similar
Yeah.
idea,
Yep.
but it spins it, into something different because of its art style, how unique the levels look, like a bunch of stuff. I think add to the charm,
Right.
And I think the appeal for people. I do see it being a bad thing in the end, though. Like if they do continue with this whole just continuous formulaic, like sort of approach. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. I forget English.
We all do from
Yeah.
time to time.
No,
It's
but for me it's all the
understandable.
time.
But and I'm not saying that Netflix is going to buy up everything, but the thing is, Netflix is such a like I've said before, a monolith, such a huge company and corporation that they are going to have to develop games that are extremely unique out of the gate, or again put out IP, established IP, or IP that is recognizable for them to kind of like hit the ground running, because Netflix kind of floods the market, and in terms of streaming, they've kind of ruined it for a lot of companies, and streaming companies in general aren't really sustainable in the long run. That's the problem with constant content that they have to put out and keeping it fresh, and that's why they trade properties with each other, because after a while there's no more growth. You can't grow beyond a certain net profit when it comes to just recycling old shows, and everybody gets bored, and it's become a very oversaturated landscape, and that's not something you want to do with gaming, because it'll die very quickly. And with gaming, it's always at a premium. It's not like you pay a couple bucks a month and you get like 3,000 games to choose from. It's like one game can cost you 80, 90 plus bucks now. And if it's garbage, that's going to ruin your reputation, because when it comes to gaming and gamers, there's a very thin line between trust, love and hate. And we've seen that only because in the past 30 years plus of modern gaming, companies like Sony, not as much Sony, but Sony, Nintendo, Atari, which we're going to get to in another episode with an Atari expert, and they've kind of put out so many products and things we've never even heard of that were released year after year. You buy one console, then they have another console that's slightly more upgraded. They've lost so much trust, and I think gamers have become so cynical in one respect. You're either a complete devout at one end of the spectrum, or completely skeptical like myself at the other end,
Right.
because you've seen Sega go through multiple consoles, and that's why Dreamcast didn't work, because they'd lost the public trust. Atari was the same thing, so they stopped making consoles, and it's a very sketchy area. So I think everybody's very kind of cautious when it comes to the gaming market in general. But now that Netflix is taking it over, I hope they give the smaller developers, people with unique concepts, a chance, because everybody's looking for innovation, even if it's in a more conservative package. Like you said, Cuphead, 2D platformer, but it was just like a unique spin, and stuff like that. Sometimes that's all gamers kind of look for, because we all kind of have our things, RPGs, side scrollers, we
The
kind of
hero shooters, the multiplayer.
Exactly. So we all kind of like drift toward what we like. We like what we like, and sometimes you like different things. But for the most part, it's pretty, mechanical in a way.
Yeah.
But it just with a little bit of innovation, it'll go a long way.
Yeah. Which I really do hope to see, because you even see it in game awards, game announcements. Everybody's always complaining, "Oh, it's another one of these games."
Yeah.
It's another first-person multiplayer shooter, battle royale, ground zero bull.
Yeah. Which I mean, we not everything can be completely groundbreaking every quarter. You know what I mean? But every couple of years something comes along. You know, let's just hope that Netflix can allow that and inspire innovation, and even in established markets, you know, put a little spin on something, you know, make it a little special, something fun.
I feel like it's going to be harder for them because I feel like Netflix already gets a lot of, I guess, criticism for the type of content they put out.
Right.
And so adding that whole video game audience to it, I feel like would it is a, I guess, intimidating thing to tackle.
Yeah, and it happens to all the major studios, even Disney, because in the 90s when they were doing, they were kind of moving away. Well, 90s was their era. Let's be honest. After 89's Little Mermaid, they started making hits again, because before that was like 20 years where they had nothing like was really hitting for them. And then, you know, Howard Ashman and, you know, and all of them really kicked it up for Disney, and with Little Mermaid, and then, you know, you had Aladdin, Lion King, and all the 90s hits all the way to Hunchback, then to Hunchback and beyond. But at the same time in the 90s, they were also oversaturating the market with their characters, because every movie had a TV show, had a kid show. You know, Aladdin had a show, I don't know if Hunchback had a show, it might have, but, you know, you had
Lion King,
you know, you had all this stuff. And after the late 90s and early 2000s, Disney's like, no more. And then they also did the direct-to-video sequels, Aladdin 2, Aladdin 3.
Lion King 2.5.
Right, 1.5 and 2, yeah.
3.7.
Right?
3.4.
You know, you had all these stuff, and they were just, it was stretching everything so thin that they really just kind of had to stop. And one of the president that came in at the end of I don't know if it was Iger, but he stepped in and went, no more direct sequels, no more, you know, spin-off TV shows. Hercules had one. And that doesn't mean they were bad. Some of them were pretty good. But, you know, it just diminished the quality. So the diminishing quality of gaming is kind of a real concern.
It's funny you bring that up, because I feel like that's what Disney's doing now.
Yeah.
You know, they're making sequels to all of their Pixar and Disney films. They're making spin-off TV shows. They're making content that's specifically for Disney Plus subscribers.
Yeah. But why? Because streaming is something that is not supportable over a long enough time frame, the way they do it. You know what I mean? That's why they
make as much money as we can now.
That's right.
And then if it dies, oh, well, we already made the money.
We'll worry about it later.
Yeah.
And that's the fear that's going to happen to gaming. But like you said, when Disney Plus started out, they were behind the 8 ball. They came in late to the game, you know, and they had very little content in comparison, but the content they put out is so massively expensive. I mean, they can afford it. I'm not saying Disney should plead poverty. We're not going to buy that from Disney.
Heck no.
But, you know, at the same time, you know, when you start a streaming service, you need to have content ready and available. And it's not like a podcast where you just, you know, everybody just sits down and talks for a while, and you can shoot 10 episodes a day if you have to.
Right.
You know, not like that's what we do, but I'm just saying it's quality over quantity. But, you know, you have to start off strong. And I think what you're talking about is right. Yeah, they are oversaturating the market, but in a market that craves oversaturation, because, you know, you just have to keep feeding people. Otherwise they lose interest very quickly, because our attention spans are nothing now.
Here's the thing. People crave so much of it. But then when so much of it comes out, they see it's not of quality.
Yeah.
They just start criticizing them.
Yeah.
When in a sense, it's kind of like like a cycle.
Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way.
Yeah. In a sense, you get what you want, but you don't enjoy it. It's kind of like, so what do we do now?
Yeah. It's like eating candy all the time. Like kids are like, oh, I wish I had cake for breakfast and candy all the time. Yeah, but then you do that and you get sick of it. You know, your body can only take so much. And I think with the same thing, like with this oversaturated market, they're complaining, but, you know, everyone's demanding. We are demanding. This is kind of a hell of our own making. We demand constant 24-hour content. And Disney's been around for 80, almost 90 years. And, you know, there's a lot of content they can tap, you know, so they really don't have a problem there as much. But where they get into trouble is a lot of the stuff is inappropriate now. So you can't always show all the Disney shorts, you know, which I've found, because I love the Disney shorts. They're my favorite output that Disney ever did. I find that the most magical they ever weren't in their films necessarily, but it was in their short form content, right? All the stuff from the late 20s, early 30s on throughout like the early 60s. And, you know, they can show that stuff forever, and they're perennials. They're great. But when it comes to like gaming, you know, let me just finish this thought. When it comes to like, you know, a lot of the other streaming platforms, they're kind of panicking, because, you know, that's why Netflix, things go on and off on Netflix. And a lot of streaming services are going back, instead of just doing the season dump where you can watch it all in a couple days, you know, initially when it drops, they're going back to a weekly model to where it's 1 or 2 new episodes per week, which I think works better because, yeah, it's a little frustrating when you're left on cliffhangers, but there's something exciting about it. And it's what we all grew up with.
Yeah.
It's serialized television, just like the serials from the 40s in movie theaters. You have more serialized TV shows when it comes to how, the episodes are shown. And there's something much more satisfying about it because it's like being on a sugar high and crashing when you just binge. And binging is fun, when you have to catch up on something, but then there's just something such a letdown when you get to see it all at once. You don't have to wait, and there's just something different. There's something
It kills it.
Yeah,
it kills the entire hype. It kills the conversation. It kills the longevity, how long people will be talking about the show, how popular it'll remain over time.
Right.
I think that would really, I don't know. It's just not ideal.
No, it's true.
Because you want people to talk about your stuff.
Yeah.
You want it to be long lasting.
Yeah, and you want it to build over time because, again, oversaturated markets. So, it's hard to find things. And most of it's like now word of mouth and online reviews. So you depend on them differently now to kind of like give your time or divide your time into something because there's so much content out there.
Yeah. A lot of people, too, they rely heavily on those critics. They rely a lot on online viewers
Opinions,
yeah,
ratings, opinions.
Yeah, if people say it's not good, I guess it's not good, I won't watch it.
Right. The metrics from like Rotten Tomatoes,
Metacritic, IMDb, things of that. People
Letterboxd.
heavily look into that
because you don't have the time to waste. You can't get halfway into a series or a show and it suck. And that's the thing too. People wait now. I think a lot of people will wait until the critics come out and say certain things. Same thing with like film, and that's the thing. That's people wait for the critics film. So going to rewind a little bit, but with film and TV, people wait because they just don't want to waste their time and money on something that's going to suck. Because we're aware of what saturating the market, oversaturating the market does. It puts out a lot of cheap crap. And we don't want, to waste our time because there's so many other things out there we can be investing our time into when it comes to entertainment. And with gaming, I think it's the same thing because with games, you're not just there for, an hour, 2 hours, or 8 hours for a season of a show. Sometimes you put 100 hours into a game, 150 hours into a game, one single game. That's one game, And so, but if you're wasting your time halfway through a game and it just kind of falls flat, it's even more of a loss of investment because of how much development time it costs to get this game going. That's why we're all kind of like holding our breath when it comes to GTA 6. I mean, there's the joke has been going like, oh, this came out before GTA 6. We've got the end of the world before GTA 6.
We got World War III before GTA
6. Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of true, though. And you're kind of wondering, like, well, first of all, it's never going to live up to the hype because it's been too long. That's a problem with
13 years.
13 years, like, waiting for something. And, everybody's kind of wondering how are they going to get the money back on their investment, but we're all just kind of waiting with bated breath to see if it, sinks or swims. And even if it's a good game, them getting their money back is going to be a long process.
Yeah, even if the game is just good, it's still going to be disappointing to people.
I know, which is sad.
It's like, oh, why can't I just, like go into whatever and do whatever forever,
I know. But I hope this gives indie companies more life. I hope this helps them, have a little more freedom to develop, because when there's a bunch of big guys taking over, you're just this little indie company, you get to be more innovative, and you kind of have to be to compete, to be honest. And I think that's going to be it's going to be a little feather in their hat going forward, I hope. But yeah, let's hope that Netflix does something fun, good, and innovative, and maybe gives some indie developers a chance to experiment and expand their base.
I hope so.
Yep. And now I want to talk a little bit about handhelds to break it up. I want to apologize. We're going to talk a little bit about old tech in the last episode, but
I'm not sorry.
I am. I'm producing this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you. But I will say, because, old tech is kind of how we all kind of came together. And the one thing I say about gaming, which is an interesting thing why I wanted to do this podcast, is I've seen this over and over again. Gaming brings together people of different backgrounds, ages, countries. It doesn't matter. When you game, you are the same team. and it's kind of fascinating. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to people of different ages. You know, it brings everybody together, and people in their 60s. One of the guys we know, Retro Butter, which he's going to be on the show.
He's 60.
He's not 60, but his father, who is in his like 50s or 60s, he's a gamer. He's still a gamer. I think it was Retro Butter's father. I'll ask him, but I could have swore he told us that. But he's a tech guy. He's a big gamer and a collector and everything retro. His name is Retro Butter, so of course he's into everything retro. But he knows how to tear every system apart and knows what makes them tick. It's amazing. But even his father and kids and everybody. You've seen everybody come into the shop. Retro Hacks. Everybody of whatever age comes into the shop, and they all have the same zeal. It brings us all together. So it's always fun to look back at the retro consoles, like the Wii, which is now a retro console, or different consoles from that failed, which I always thought was fascinating. But my favorite type of retro console are the handhelds, because I didn't grow up with them. They were always like peripherally available, but grew up poor, so we didn't have any of that. But my cousins did, or friends did, and they always fascinated me, because they were like toys, digital toys, and you could carry them in your pocket, and it's always fascinating to me. And looking back at how hard to play that tech is now. You go back to an original Game Boy, you'll go blind playing it.
Yeah, it's just like, what am I looking at?
What is this?
It's like you're always going to need another pair of glasses or something.
I know, but like, just the handhelds are just always beloved, no matter what. And there have been so many of them since the original Game Boy. But yeah, what was your first experience with handhelds?
First experience with a handheld, I was about 2 to 3 years old, and for Christmas I got the Game Boy Advance, the SP.
Wow.
That was my first proper experience with a handheld, and I think gaming in general.
Yeah, that was really young. At 2 to 3 years old?
Yeah.
Man.
I had one. I remember it, too. Not vividly, but I do remember waiting in line, waiting to, like, purchase it.
Right.
It was a Christmas time, Curaçao, they had the bundle with everything, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
Wow. What a trip, dude. That is really young.
Yeah, I hold on to, I guess, that one. Real close. Because, first proper gaming experience. Like, I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
It's ridiculously cool.
It was really cool. I mean, that was a flip device before flip phones.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Or around the same time. Maybe that technology was all popular at the same time. But, no, the SP was a great system, especially when they came out with the brighter screen.
That's the one I had.
Oh, you had the 101?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I
was spoiled.
I know. You didn't have to squint or worry about the lighting.
Just like, what?
Terrible battery life, but it was worth it. But no, the SP, I had the SP as well. That wasn't my first exposure. It was an earlier one, because I got into handheld gaming later on, when I was already like older. But when it comes to that, because you had the Game Boy Advanced, which was it was innovative when it came out. It was part of a new wave that Nintendo put out, and it was. The SP specifically, the 101, was great because it was a brighter screen, but the games on it were terrific. And I think no matter what we talk about, it's always the quality of the games. And the GBA SP was great when it came to its selection of games by that time. Do you remember what the bundle was?
Oh, of course I do.
When you were a kid?
So it was the Game Boy, and it had 2 games: The Incredibles,
okay,
and Scooby-Doo 2.
Oh man! Do you remember liking Scooby-Doo before that, or is that what?
Oh yeah, I mean it's always been a part of me personally. For those who don't know, I'm like a big, huge Scooby-Doo fan.
Yeah,
I've been watching and knowing them ever since I could like walk or talk or anything.
Yeah,
even before I was conscious, frankly.
You know what? That's kind of a lot of us, though. There's a lot of things like that. I mean, not to say everybody's the same, but Scooby-Doo has been around long enough, I think, to kind of span the generations of gamers. Because that came out in the
1969.
Yeah, I was going to say 70s, but 1969. So it spans gaming, the eras of gaming. So I grew up with with that too, because it was always on TV. But the games I wasn't aware of until you were telling me, because I never looked at it through gaming. So I did play, because I emulated a lot of games. So I emulated Scooby-Doo 2. I think it was from
the second film
from the GBA. From the films. And it's a good game. It's fun.
It's fun, right? Because it takes like an existing IP, but it makes it into like just a fun side scroller. You look for your clues, Scooby snacks, all that fun stuff. I don't know. I just think it's cool, and it kind of ties back to what we were talking about a few episodes ago, with movie tie-in games,
Right,
and how they give it
right.
its own identity despite it being associated with that.
Right.
You know, and there was a lot of that going on with GBA. You know, a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
its library was movie tie-ins,
A lot of
TV show
Disney, a
tie-ins,
lot of Disney
a lot
too.
of Disney,
Yeah.
a lot of pre-existing titles, a lot of new titles being created. I mean, you have like Advance Wars, Fire Emblem,
Right.
the
Yep.
Mega Man no, not X.
I know which
What
one you're
was it?
talking about.
The Battle Network
Battle
series, like that's
Network, yeah.
super popular
Yeah,
now.
exactly. Yeah, because you see those go off the shelves a
Oh,
lot.
all the time.
GBA is still popular.
Oh, I think now is more so than ever. I think GBA is just hot. I think handhelds now have kind of exploded in popularity.
Right.
Because people are so familiarized and like kind of, I guess, gone null on the whole Switch
Yeah.
gimmick. You know, it's like, oh, it's cool. You know, you can play a handheld, you can play it on TV. But people go back, and even like I have a 13-year-old nephew. He tells me that he thinks the PSP is really cool.
Yeah.
And that's tech from like 20 some years ago.
25 years ago ish. Yeah.
And it's interesting to see how people still gravitate towards that older tech because of how appealing it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, absolutely.
You play
Even-
like a whole game on, you know, in your hands, you know, a small little thing, but you do anything you want, man.
No, it's great, and a lot of people are repurposing old tech, like the SPs. Like you put the IPS screen on and brighter screens now.
Reshells to give it that custom look, you know?
Reshells. You can do the new batteries that are longer lasting.
Make it a USB-C charging port as
Make it
well.
a USB-C. Yeah, you guys have had those, and I've seen people do that. Yeah, and
Put a microwave on that thing.
yeah, you can. You can hack them. You can do a lot of interesting stuff. And the PSP was actually, I never had one, but my friends in high school did. And I remember them hacking it. The first chance they got, they hacked it. And it was, I think, the first hackable handheld or video game system that was just a software mod. That was a big flaw. But you could actually hack it with a software mod, and you could play all the retro games up until that time, which was, you know, fascinating to do. My friend had just crazy amount of what I thought was crazy amount of games, like 100 games or plus. And I was just freaking out at just like how awesome that was. And, you know, I didn't get into handheld gaming until like, I think the, 3DS XL, the new 3DS XL. I jumped into it then, but I also around that time got into the Game Boy Advance SP, GBA SP. And yeah, I think that the secret is always the quality of your titles, the quality of games. And Nintendo, of course, always had great games, but I loved playing the advanced copies of Mario Advanced, 1, 2, 3, and 4, which were just ports of, the first Mario game, the second Mario 1, Mario 2, 3, and Mario World.
But I think that's the really neat thing about it. Something that you were so used to seeing on your TV, on that little brick, now is like everywhere you go in your pocket.
Yeah.
And it still plays just as good. It's crazy.
It's amazing what nostalgia can do, especially when you look back and you play like things on such tiny screens or things that need a lot of extra light, like the people that buy Game Boys and Game Boy Colors. Like, people remember, how hard it was when you didn't have direct light onto your screen, but it was
have to
amazing.
get the worm lights. You would have to play in the
Worm
sun.
lights.
When it's nighttime, it's kind of like, well, crap, I'm screwed. You
Yeah,
know?
that's right. Yeah, dude. It was the Game Boy Light didn't come out until like
90s, right?
Yeah, well into the 90s. Yeah. And it was tough, but gamers struggled, when it came to that. But it was still a good time.
Made it good with it, Yeah. You still did what you wanted because it's like, holy crap, I could play video games on my little handheld.
This thing I could put in my pocket or my backpack. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing how they got through it. But talking about the PSP, it was a direct competitor to Nintendo because Nintendo was the king of handhelds, even though when they put that out, they knew it was old technology. It wasn't anything cutting edge at all. Right. They could have actually made the screen color if they wanted to, but it would have taken 2 extra batteries. So they didn't want to do that. And it wasn't even the most powerful handheld at the time because they had the Atari Lynx. Because Atari always wanted to be Nintendo's direct competitor, right? Because they were the granddaddy of all like gaming companies for the most part because they had the Atari 2600. You had replaceable cartridges, the 56, and then of course the 78, which was already a little behind. But then when Nintendo came around, the Lynx came around. It had a color screen, and it could be used in the right hand or the left because you could could flip it, and the controls would be on both sides, and then the screen would flip, just digitally. But it didn't sell as well. Tobey Maguire is actually in was it Tobey Maguire?
It's Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
At the school, right?
Yep.
He's like, I'm just gonna use the restroom, and then he goes to the restroom and just plays on the links, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's like one of his earliest jobs, commercial gigs.
It's like that commercial with Jack Black as a kid for it was an Atari game. I forget which one.
Oh man, I can't remember that either.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, let's have somebody mention it in the comments. But yeah,
please do. Yeah.
But I remember that one with Tobey Maguire came out, but it was for that console. I remember that commercial. It's like, I'll just pull it out of my pocket. The damn thing's like 8-9 inches long or 10 inches long. Like, you'd have to have a sewn-in pocket to do that. It was so weird. I'm like, there was no way that fits in your pocket. It was much larger than a Game Boy, but it was a better quality screen and better quality graphics, and it failed. Unfortunately, because Nintendo knew how to market properly, and their games were pretty solid because they based like the Mario games. They had the Mario Land series, so they were banking off previous successes. But the Game Boy, I think, is one of the best selling handhelds for all time.
At the time too, I mean, there was so many popular games coming out. I mean, this was like on the brink of like Pokemon.
Right. And Sonic.
Like Pokemon, Sonic, Tetris was a huge deal.
Yeah. They shipped that for free with the original
Everyone
Game Boys.
had it, and it's like one of the most iconic games ever.
Yep.
People think of Tetris on the Game Boy more so than they do the NES version.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah. Exactly. And with Atari, they never had that slate of games. They didn't have any of that. There's other history there that we'll get into in another episode. But yeah, Atari could never reach the heights that that Nintendo did. It wasn't until Sega came out and the Game Gear. And the Game Gear was a direct competitor, but it had such terrible battery life. 6 batteries, 2 hours.
That's ridiculous. At that point, just have it plugged in. It's just a home console, but a small one.
Right, exactly. And it wasn't even dockable, I don't think. You had the TV tuner, because a couple of them had that. There were different consoles, even NEC consoles. They had the TV tuners. But it wasn't worth, 6 batteries every 2 hours, because it had... I remember Retro Butter told me this. He said that it had a certain type of screen. It wasn't LEDs. Those weren't popular in gaming then. I don't remember when those were developed specifically for gaming, but it was a fluorescent light bulb, I think, or a fluorescent light or something like that. So he just ate, and if I'm incorrect, please correct me in the comments, but or wait for Retro Butter to be on the show, or do both.
Please be nice. Though.
Please be nice, or not, whatever you want. Hey, what are you pointing at me for? He's pointing at me.
I'm not.
Don't be mean to me.
I'm not saying anything.
I put this thing on the air.
Saying anything.
Yeah, I saw the finger pointing. Anyway,
it's unrelated.
Anyway, I'm looking for a new host for this show. New co-host.
I am the show.
I know, right? Because half our audience. No, but it's fascinating to look back at the histories of handheld, history of consoles in general. But there's specifically a book that I always like to look at. It's called. Let me see. I have it right here on the set. A Handheld History by Lost in Cult. They're a great company that does this really nostalgic, beloved, respectful way of looking at home consoles and their histories, and there's a lot of personal testimonies about, like when you remember the first memory of your GBA SP.
I mean, I still hold it close to heart, man.
Yeah, and a lot of people do. It's really trippy. I stumbled onto it when I got older. I always admired it, because I think my cousins had Game Boy. Everybody had a Game Boy Color, right. So I never really played them much. But as an adult, past my teenage years, I got into the XL, and I thought that was great. They have amazing titles at that point. But, again, Nintendo. But going back to the PSP I think was the first real, dangerous competitor for Nintendo. Because Nintendo did, the DS, the DSi, DS Lite, 3DS, 2DS, XL, new XL. They went through a lot of iterations, and the 3DS XL, of course, did not sell terribly well. But the PSPs were on fire for a while. And Sony really stepped up and was really competitive for a while with Nintendo handhelds. Yeah. And it's funny because they had I think a failed, and that's where the PlayStation came about, because Nintendo and Sony had that failed partnership in the early 90s, where they wanted to make a disc-based system. But then Nintendo kind of screwed them over. I'm leaving a lot of parts out, but they kind of went their own way instead and did the N64.
Yeah. Cartridge-based.
Yeah. And so Sony's like, well, screw it then. We'll do our own system. And they came out with the PlayStation, and just kind of
that was innovative.
Yeah,
and I think that's why the PSP did so well, because at the time, PS2 was so hot.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted a PS2. And there were so many great titles. I mean, having to be able to play games like God of War, GTA, Midnight Club, Need for Speed, like those like super popular titles for a home system on the go.
Yeah.
Disk space, great looking screen.
Right.
You can attach like, earbuds to it. Yeah, you can play movies on it.
Yeah.
There was so many accessories for it. I think that's why it did so well.
No, there's a lot of practical peripherals for that thing that really just made it so much more fun, and I agree. It was really innovative at the time, and it was Sony's revenge.
Yeah.
And they really did well in the market for a long time until they kind of did what Nintendo did and started kind of racing ahead of their audience, which they try to be. And there is a thing about being too innovative, which is unfortunate, but that's also why I think the Dreamcast failed. The Dreamcast failed because Sega's last physical system, the Sega Dreamcast, they lost a lot of confidence. The audience lost a lot of confidence in Sega because they kept putting out new systems like every year and a half or 2 years. You had the Sega Mega Drive, but then you had like Sega 32X, Sega CD, and Sega Saturn, and then the Dreamcast. People are like, okay, fine, and they gave it. But then Sega Dreamcast was actually doing extremely well until the PS2 came around, and the PS2 knocked it out of the ballpark because it had a DVD player. And sure, Dreamcast could have had a peripheral DVD player, just like the 360 had an HD DVD player peripheral, but the gamers had lost so much confidence in them that it just tanked them, and that was the last system they put out. And I think with Sony and their PSP, they did the PSP, and then they had different versions of the PSP, different screens. They kept innovating and upgrading, and then cutting back on certain, cutting a few corners here and there. And then they had the PSP Go and the PS Vita, I think, right? Is that the way the timeline works?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just the PSP Go just really didn't do well. And the Vita, unfortunately, though it was a superior system, didn't do well either.
Right.
And then they kind of lost the market there.
Which you try reaching for now, but it's just done in such a half-handed way. It's ridiculous. Yeah, Portal, we don't like you.
Oh my God, the PS Portal was supposed to be like a Steam Deck. People thought it was going to be this thing where you just take it on the go, as opposed to just being like basically a Wii U.
It's the Wii. They're selling you the Wii U and the Wii U gamepad separately, in a sense. And you're just buying the gamepad at that point.
And the shops in general, like they'll take newer gear. But whenever the PSP comes into the shop, everybody's like, "Nah, no, thank you. We don't accept that." It doesn't sell. People don't really want it because even after the patch, there's a patch they put out, so it'll do more. But even then,
you still have to pay for the highest tier subscription. Yeah. QC is a big issue with it. My nephew I bring him up a lot.
Right.
My nephew got one for Christmas. Doesn't work. The left analog, he's not able to move the characters up and down, only left to right.
What?
Yeah. And there's no real fix for it. I mean, there's probably unofficial ones out there, but the thing about it is that PlayStation made a brand new specific design for those sticks that you can't buy anywhere.
Of course, they made it proprietary.
Of course, yeah, they made it proprietary. It's ridiculous, man.
That's just corporate greed, and I think that's what ends up costing a lot of companies in the end. Of course it does, because at the end of the day, you're still going to want quality over quantity. And the fact that even PS5 controllers now, they break down, and the stick drift on them is just so rampant, and it's so expensive to fix. Like, oh yeah, with the the DualSense controller, sure, you can get what do you call it? You can get replacement parts. You can just swap. You can just pop them right out. Yeah, but how much do those cost? And are they available enough to where you can just get them whenever you need them? You guys deal with that a lot. PS5 controllers really just fail constantly.
Not only controllers, but also the system itself. The amount of times we've gotten calls about the HDMI port not working is countless.
Really? For the PS5?
Countless.
Wow.
I've had issues with it. I have a PS5, and one of the USB drives, the connection port broke. I don't move it. It just snapped.
It just stopped.
It snapped. I look at my extended storage that I have on the back of the system, and the actual USB bit broke in there. So the teeth are all messed up.
Yeah, and you take care of your stuff.
It's not like I'm going around willy-nilly throwing my stuff around. It broke.
For no reason.
For no reason at all. I've sent in my PlayStation to Sony as well to get it fixed because it would turn off.
Just randomly.
Yeah, randomly. It would just turn off.
Yeah, can't wait for the PlayStation 6.
Oh, I know. They just throw in the console, but you got to, give everything else from your PS5 to the new system.
Yeah, my God. It reminds me of BMWs. BMWs are very expensive and very, sought after cars.
Big muscular women.
Yeah. That's exactly what it stands for. But what is Subaru? No. No, with BMW, but the thing is, my mechanic is done every... Stop. I don't know what that is, but...
don't worry.
Okay.
I'll tell you about it later.
I might have to cut that out.
You should. Keep it for
with BMWs, they're highly sought after status symbols, but at the same time, my mechanic, great guy, Petey, shout out to Petey. He's a terrific mechanic, and he's worked on just about everything. And he says, yeah, they're beautiful cars, but they're cheap. Everything inside is made of plastic, and it breaks. And you have to replace it with more expensive parts because the coming straight out of the factory, brand new, and this is new BMWs. They are garbage, internally. Outside, beautiful cars, but I mean, there's so many plastic internals that are just cheap and cheaply made that it just doesn't make it worth it in the long run. Yeah. And I was going to buy a BMW before I got one of my SUVs, and it was cheap. It was like $14,000 used, and it was a beautiful sedan. And it was a little older. It was more of a classic. But I go, why so cheap? And they're like, well, it's the maintenance and the upkeep. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, no way. My buddy had a BMW, 04 BMW. That thing literally exploded on him.
Really?
Engine blew up as he was driving to work.
Jeez. Yeah. And see, that's what
he put so much money into it too.
Yeah.
The car cost him like $3,000, but I think he ended up spending like upwards of $10,000 just for maintenance and stuff like that.
It's not worth it. See, and that's my problem with a lot of these gaming companies, their consoles. Like Xbox doesn't do that. Xboxes, they're bricks. Those things are tanks.
Literally, the newest one is shaped like a brick.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
But not only
it's
that,
like a cinder block.
Their tech is fantastic. Like I haven't had no issues with the Series X controller. I've had it for over a year now.
Yeah,
it was used, and still no drift.
Those controllers are amazing. I have one that I use on my Steam Deck, and yeah, I've rage quit and thrown that thing across the room. Still works beautifully.
I've gone through 2 PS5 controllers, and I even have the new Pro. They don't do it for me.
I don't. They're not. They don't feel as sturdy either. Because I've had a DualSense PS5 Pro controller too, as well, when I got my Steam Deck, because I wanted to try the different games with their native controllers, more or less. And yeah, it never felt as good. It's not as sturdy. And then when you read all about the stick drift, you're like, I don't want to use this thing.
Stick drift, not only that, but also the
triggers.
The triggers, the DualSense, like clicky triggers, those that can end up breaking too, because they're so cheap.
Man.
It's just plastic in there. I've taken them apart. It's just plastic.
So
plastic gears.
PlayStation is the BMW of gaming.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's the Apple of gaming, frankly.
Oh my God. At least Apple products are a little more sturdy, I think. But yeah, they're getting worse.
Definitely worse. I mean, remember iPhone 6 where it would just bend?
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that.
Or the glass backs now on iPhones, it just makes them so susceptible to breakage.
That's why I get the otter cases. I don't care how thick they look and how ugly. It's I'm protecting this damn thing because my first, what is it, the iPhone 11 that I bought cost more than my first car. I bought a used car, but it's it literally cost $1,500. Because I got the Pro model or whatever, and yeah, I didn't pay that for my first junker. And it's just geez, man, I don't care what a case looks like. That's why I protect all my handhelds. They all have cases because I'm clumsy and I don't want to have to pay to get them repaired. But it's ridiculous. But now you don't even have to worry about that because they just break when you look at them. That's why
you breathe on them a little funny, and it's just
oh my God. That's why I like the new handhelds that are coming out through the Rogue Ally, Steam Deck, MSI Pro. I'm sorry, MSI Claw, I think, and the Legion Lenovo Go. That sucker's a tank.
Even the Analog Pockets feel great.
Yeah, and those are made really tough, And again, it's about, like we were talking about earlier, with the indie games, as opposed to conglomerate games, Activision Blizzard and all that, compared to the company that does Stardew or Stardust or I forget what the heck that is.
Starfield?
Starfield or not, smaller games like the little sides.
Oh, Stardew Valley?
Stardew Valley, yeah, there we go. Thank you. Stuff like that. I mean, but in comparison to physical consoles, these other companies Steam and all that, they're tough. They're pretty tough. And you put a little case on them and they're pretty indestructible. And I rage quit a lot. I'm just saying. And my stuff still works, and look at the 360. It's built like a brick. Even the PS4 was pretty tough. From what because I've taken those things apart myself.
Yeah, PS4 is less susceptible to any issues, any breakage, anything like that.
Yeah.
It was great.
PS4 Pro is great, but I'm telling you, man.
PS4 Pro is as equal to a PS5. Let's
Yeah,
just be honest.
yeah. There was very little difference
Mm-hmm.
in quality, and the the PS5 to the PS5 Pro, it's like there's almost no difference.
No different. It's just a funny shape.
Exactly, and they're trying to make so much money off of that.
Oh, and no disk drive either.
Exactly. You have to pay extra for that. You can still get a disc one though, right?
You can still for the Pro.
Yeah.
The Pros are all sold digitally.
They're all digital.
They're all digital. You have to buy the disk drive separately.
No, thank you.
$80, and then no stand, another $30.
Yeah, no stand.
DLC for your consoles now.
Exactly.
That's why I keep joking about the PS6 having like no controller. You just have to carry everything over.
No fan.
No
you want the
fan.
fan? It's going to be extra.
Yeah, it's just building a PC at that point. It's like, nah, I'm good.
Exactly. And then people are like, just build a PC. Well, yeah, it's kind of worth it because you get so much more power. You don't have to pay a ton of money if you know what you're doing. You don't have to get the latest specs. But yeah, but that's why I like the upcoming like third tier, I guess, option, which is, these companies like Valve or the ones that are putting out Republic of Gamers, Rogue Ally. I like them because they're different. They're getting stronger. They're getting more powerful, and I think that's kind of the way of the future because everybody's so sick of all this breakage and manufactured obsolescence.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
I mean,
it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and it sucks that the Xbox Series X has gotten so little love,
Mm-hmm.
And
well, then again, Microsoft has made odd choices as well.
Their marketing's terrible right now.
Shutting down different studios, increasing the price of the console that already doesn't sell as well.
I know. I remember that when Nintendo announced that the games are going to be. Oh no, what was it? The tariffs. It was with the Trump tariffs. Voldemort's tariffs. They like, well, we're going to up our console $100. Like, for what? It already doesn't sell, dude.
You can buy one used for like $220, $300.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're going to increase the price. It's going to drive less people. It's going to be less encouraging.
I know. I mean, if there's ever a company that wants to go into bankruptcy, it's them.
Yeah,
like, they're just
they're
itching.
looking for it.
Yeah, they're like, how can we screw this up even
Disney,
more?
buy us. Come on.
Right, I know. We don't know what we're doing. Give us money. Yeah. And it's terrible because the quality of their systems are really, really good, and they have a lot of backwards compatibility, which Sony doesn't do anymore. The last time they did that was with the PS3.
PS3. I mean, you can't even consider PS5 because it's only PS4 compatibility.
Right.
And that's
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
PS4 didn't even have PS3 compatibility.
No, and PS4 and 5, they've been putting out games simultaneously for both systems for years now. I think they're just starting to stop, but for the most part, they've done it since they both coexisted.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny because like PS5 hardly has any exclusive games to its name.
No.
It's just kind of like it's the same thing.
They did. I think Spider-Man 2 was like the biggest exclusive I've seen them have, and yeah.
Nothing else.
It's
maybe Gears of War, but even then, that's a pre-existing title.
Yeah. Oh, that's Xbox.
No, Gears of War's coming to PS5.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean the crossplay. Yeah.
Yeah, the crossplay thing,
and that's probably going to save both companies a little bit because people want that. You want to be playing those things. You just never were available. It was never available to you before, but now it's happening. People want it. And it's going to be good. I think it's going to be good.
People miss it. You know, they want what they are familiar with. And so doing it this way, I think, is a good way to like unify people from both sides of like the console wars, if those are even still around at this point.
I know it's kind of ridiculous, and I think with again Valve and Steam's OS coming in, because Steam's OS can be done on like any handheld now, any like the Rogue Ally, the MSI, Legion, Lenovo Go, you can run Steam on it, and everybody loves Steam OS, their operating system. So I think the other major companies now are kind of freaking out, like, oh shit, what do we do? Yeah. Oh shoot, we better do something. Let's collaborate.
Yeah, let's do something. Sega giving a lot of their properties to Xbox.
Yeah,
or more so letting them
license them. Yeah. My personal opinion is that the future of gaming is in like the Steam Deck and things like that because they are dockable, and I think these other companies, PlayStation, I think they're going to have to start lowering their prices. And
you would hope.
Yeah, you would hope. Yeah. As opposed to making unsellable consoles even more unsellable. Like, why doesn't Sony just like raise its price on the PS Portal? It's like, look, we're just going to charge $100 more.
Yeah,
nobody
I'll pay
wants
$350 on it.
Right.
Oh, it's even worse? Oh, wow, fantastic.
Yeah, $450. Let's do $200. Let's double the price.
Oh, fragile screen? Oh, wow, that sounds great. Yeah, there's no sticks? Wow, that's awesome.
No sticks. Sticks are extra.
Yeah. Sticks are extra. I got to pay for buttons?
Oh, dude, I know.
God.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them.
Me
But
neither, frankly.
at this point,
I mean, you can think about it. People crave like customizability or like
Yeah.
different like controller options.
right.
You don't know. Maybe Sony or somebody would take notes and be like, you know what? We'll make interchangeable pieces for those controllers.
And if you want to pay extra for it, like that's fine. I mean, customizable stuff, but we're talking about like the core features. Like you don't get a D-pad and it's supposed to have a D-pad or something. You got to pay extra for that. Like that would drive me up the wall. That would put them out of business. I think that would hopefully make people mad enough not to buy their crap. But I mean, it is what it is.
Then
But
again,
it's constantly evolving, though. It's constantly evolving. We'll see. And I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen later on this year when the Rogue Ally Xbox collaboration drops. It's going to be about $1,000, but it's going to be. I would
hope it's grand.
Right, I know. I hope it's great. We hope it's just like out of this world and terrific and worth the money. Hard to justify $1,000, but we'll see. Hopefully they'll lower the pricing when it comes closer to it, because everybody's balking at the price, of course, going, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
Which is understandable. Like if I'm going to bitch about if I'm going to complain about the Switch 2, I got to be fair and complain about that. If the chipset is powerful enough, that's great, but it's still a lot. Like Valve loses money on the Steam Decks. Like they lose money on the initial Steam Decks. They did, at least. And charging $399 or $349, whatever it is, they lose money on that. But they gain it back when you start using their OS and buying games from them, which I have. So when you start buying from Steam, that's where they make a lot of their money. And a lot of the companies, have to start doing that too. Take a little bit of a loss, but, get a lot back in return. But yeah, we'll see where that goes later on. But for now, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that's always on my mind when it comes to your thoughts on licensing versus actually owning a game. Now, specifically, I don't want to just like blanket statement this, but my personal thoughts are that you should always own your own. And I know we have similar opinions when it comes to this. You pay for it, you own it. But do you really care if you've bought a digital game, played it for 100 hours, 100 plus hours, played it out, beat it, and a couple years down the line, it's removed from your library without any refund? At first, that sounds outrageous, but you've gotten a lot of joy from it. It's like going to Disneyland. You pay to go to Disneyland. You don't own Disneyland. You go have your fun, and then you're exhausted and you leave. You don't get that money back because it's the experience you're paying for.
Right.
So what do you think about that when it comes to gaming?
I feel like there's two ways of looking at it. There's a sense of, oh, man, I don't have access to that game anymore. But then it's also like, it's not like a physical copy won't exist. I mean, there are instances where, maybe there isn't a physical copy.
Right.
But if there's one out there, you can totally go for it. Pick it up. It's going to be way cheaper as well. Play it again if you'd like. But that's if you want to revisit it.
Right.
Sometimes for people, it's just kind of like, well, I did everything I could. I had my fun with it. It's okay. Just, let it be. Like, it's just nice to look at the past and see what I enjoyed for the time.
Because a lot of times we go back to the same games, because we have, even with people with large Steam collections, you go back to a few core games that you keep playing for years. Left 4 Dead, that's me. Yeah. Left 4 Dead 2, I play it all the time. And go back to the Mario games. Some people do certain side scrollers. It becomes almost like a security blanket over time. And
which companies take note of, because, even like earlier, how we were talking about the handhelds, they ported a lot of their classic NES games, Super Nintendo games on those at the time modern consoles,
right?
Because it's what people like.
Exactly.
And it's what people are already familiar with.
And it sells.
It's available on newer tech.
Yeah.
It's the same product, but they're just making more money on it because it's being re-released.
No, that's true. And I think Nintendo hasn't taken advantage of that to the degree that people want, that are fans of it.
Because they can totally re-release a lot of their old GameCube, Wii,
original Nintendo.
Heck, even Wii U games, give them new life on different consoles.
See, but they don't want to, because now they want you to do their subscription service and you get them that way. And it's just like, no, man, that's not what I want.
It's not the same.
No, exactly.
It's not the same at all. I mean, with the Switch 2, you exclusively get the GameCube games, but it's like, 3 games?
Yeah, exactly. And they put out like 1 or 2 games a month.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, why am I even paying for this at that point?
Exactly. I mean, at least the other companies, Sony and Microsoft, like they'll port stuff over that sold well, that people want.
Or remaster it, remake it,
The Mega Man collections, Legacy 1 and 2.
The Uncharted trilogy.
Yep.
It was on PS3, and don't get me wrong, I love those games, but on PS3 they did not run well.
No.
They were very choppy. On PS4, they're fantastic.
Yep.
You know, little rumblings of maybe a remake in the future, hopefully for
Right.
the first one at least.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint.
But yeah, and it's like I think Nintendo has really lost a big market when it comes to that. But at the same time, it goes back to renting and not owning. Just like a lot of companies with housing, which is a big thing now, BlackRock and all those investment firms. But at the same time, the question is, you pay for a game, my thing is like, if you're going to take something away from somebody, give them their money back or give them half their money back. And that's not something companies want to hear because they're like, no, it's our money forever. Well, then it should be my game forever. I'm not making copies and selling it. It's my game. I bought it from you. I paid the premium price or whatever. It should be mine indefinitely for as long as the physical media lasts. But if it's digital, it won't degrade. So, what's the point in me giving you money for an experience that you're just going to take back?
Away,
you know what I mean? It just feels slimy when companies have that in their terms and agreements, and who reads that? But at the same time, you have no choice but to sign it or not play. And I think it's just underhanded. That, yeah, sure, you may not want to play that in a few years, you may not care anymore, but then you might. But the problem is you paid for it. It's like you having a couch and buying your couch, and then after a while the company's like, well, we're going to take our couch back. It's like, no,
I sleep on that.
Yeah, that's my couch. Whether I have it in the garage or not, it's still mine. You have no right to come in here and...
I already gave you the money. Why are you so concerned about what I'm doing about it now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not doing anything illegal with it, like beating up puppies with it or whatever.
Couches are heavy. I don't know if I could.
Yeah, I know. You have to be a big guy. No, it's not. But it's the principle, it's, and I believe, if you pay for something, it's yours. And it's hard to enforce that digitally when someone could just swipe something out of your account and you just maybe not even be aware of it for a couple of years. That's
maybe I'm not as strong of the opinion on that because it hasn't happened to me personally. But I definitely see how it would be quite annoying.
Now, do you say that because the companies make it to where you have no power of recourse? You're just like, it is what it is, I got to deal with it?
I mean, it for me, it's that. It's just kind of like, oh, well. I mean, I had my fun with it. And that's really, about it. At least in my end. I'm like, I already had my fun.
Yeah.
I paid for the experience. I paid for the hours. I paid for the time. I already made that money back. I mean, God, I hope,
But, well, you didn't make it back playing the game, though.
I didn't.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's where I'm kind of like it's almost indifferent about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do understand that it's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I already gave you the money. Why are you meddling with my library? Why are you meddling with the things I'm supposed to own?
Exactly. Well, you lost a license. That's not my problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It has nothing to do with me.
I bought it when you had the license. And
Exactly.
it just seems so dishonest and so un-American, let's just say, to take something away from you that, that belongs to you, that, you paid for. It's like, give me the money back or give me a partial refund if you're going to do that. That needs to be fought for.
It kind of sounds American if you think about it.
Right. I know. Taking something that doesn't belong to you and then claiming it as your own. Yeah.
It sounds American.
I actually,
beer and trucks.
No. Give me that game back. That don't belong to you no more, boy. It's mine now.
Now I'm going to sit in it for 20 years and not do anything with it.
This is my game. My copy of Mario is mine forever.
Yeah. You like it? Well, you can't have it.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's something that's going to continue to evolve over time because most of my library is digital. I have physical games. I believe in physical media, as you can see on the set, because we're surrounded by thousands of actual physical films.
Oh, I couldn't tell.
Yeah, you didn't notice. I'm telling you. Obtuse, are we?
Triangles.
But I think over time it's going to become a bigger issue with rights, and especially with handhelds. Like I keep going back to Valve and all those things where your collection is just completely going to be digital. And then like, well, what rights do you have to them?
I mean, honestly, it's good. It gets convenient.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, eventually, what if it gets lost?
Yeah. Or that's a great thing with Steam is that even though it's on your device, it's saved onto servers. So and so is your progress. So you don't have to really worry about that as much. But and Steam has said they've had to admit recently that they can't say this, but they said your games are yours forever. But with companies coming in saying no, we don't want that. It's a little different.
Yeah.
So it's kind of frustrating in a lot of ways that you don't have any recourse beyond like an eventual class action lawsuit, which might happen, depending if
it's been happening with a
Yeah.
lot of companies. I feel like recently, because I know GameStop was going through one, right?
Well, they deserve to be sued.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. But even games like I'll bring it up because it's fun. Fortnite, they're in a lawsuit where you're able to get like the in-game tokens back to your account.
Oh yeah,
because of a lawsuit.
Isn't that the microtransactions kind of?
Yeah,
a
the
thing?
microtransactions, like the little like tokens that you can use to buy skins or little dances, songs now even, which is kind of interesting because that I feel like that brings up a whole new kind of like, wait, so what am I buying here? Because they have a like Guitar Hero type like section in that game,
Right.
where you buy songs. Like real copyrighted songs, you get like Nirvana, Green Day,
Right.
yeah, things of that sort. But it's
Until
like,
they lose the license.
until they lose the license
Yeah.
for the game, if they lose it, because at that point it's just kind of like this game has become such a conglomerate. Like it's a huge game now.
Yeah.
Collaborations with Disney. Disney bought $1 billion of stock into it.
Wow.
Like how does that work? Does Disney get your money too?
Right. Yeah. Well, they bought into it, so yeah, I'm sure they have a chunk of it. Disney is going to own everything soon. They're like, yeah, it's Disney and Nintendo. They're just going to be producing everything after a while.
Yeah, which is crazy that Nintendo's in Universal Studios, not Disneyland.
Yeah. For now.
Okay.
No. Okay. Hopefully, trust busting will stop any of that nonsense. But
we're Disney. We're gonna buy Universal now.
right? Yeah.
Jurassic Park and Star Wars crossover. Me.
I mean, I can see that, which is
Yeah, I
scary,
know.
which is scary.
That's the scariest. That's scarier than any Jurassic movie.
But it is what it is. Hopefully the laws will kick in and common sense, and because let's be honest, competition breeds better products. If one company owns everything, it's just all going to be slop because you're not going to have any competitors making them, keeping them on task and holding them to task and making them put out better products to compete. That's why I'm always for trust busting, which it really just needs to kick in a lot more. But we'll see. We'll see what the future holds.
Indeed, we shall.
And on that note, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Gamers at the End of the World. I'm Tye Justice.
I'm JCPR.
And we'll see you next time.
Hopefully.